Welcome to the Sit Down, where we have conversations with creators from across this beautiful motherland of ours. My name is Makomboy, a filmmaker and an all-round story lover. So today we are having a conversation with Rango, who is an editor, video director, colorist, and he's edited commercials and music videos for brands such as Safaricom, artists such as Red Sun. So sit down and settle in. She's so amazing. All right, so I want to say thank you so much, Rango, for joining us and, for coming aboard, especially on this part where you're going to be looking at the art of editing and just look at your work and the amazing stuff that you do. So to start us off, I will say, who is an editor and what does an editor do?
Well, an editor is, I would say, the hidden gem of any film. Because an editor can save or break the production.
That is true, 100%.
100%, because an editor, what basically an editor does is piece together what the other creative shot, and make it into a beautiful film or a beautiful collection of shots. Makes the story. He stitches the story together.
If I have the ambitions of becoming an editor, what are the tools that I need to have to become a Rango?
Well, one, I would say, be open to ideas. Don't be bogged down by the same ideas.
Yeah.
And obviously, two, you need to learn a tool, an editing tool. It can be Premiere, Final Cut, like yourself. I don't know.
Oh yes.
Final Cut people, you don't go. But anyway, it can be any tool. Just any tool can get you started. These days, DaVinci has free trials.
Yeah.
So I would say that's one other thing you need to learn.
Yeah.
And obviously, the third, and I would say one of the most important things, you need to be a people person, because you're going to be dealing with a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just to touch a bit on that creative side, like how do you achieve creativity when it comes to being able to put images together in a way that is compelling? What's that process like? Maybe that's the essence of what creativity is, but what is it like for you?
For me, one of the big things I do to keep myself creative, I watch a lot. Like I learn a lot, because in our field, like in the editing field and post-production field, like watching is equivalent to learning. You need to absorb new material from different sources. So it's not weird for you to find me watching a K-pop video or just watching a foreign film from, I don't know, Madagascar or France. I just try and see what other people are doing, creatives. And one of the quickest way to stay creative is source a few ideas from different people you admire.
Yeah. Okay. And I guess in that sense, who do you admire at this point? Who is Rango watching? We've been at home, eating, drinking, working in the house, naked half of the day. Who have you been watching? What have you been?
Oh man, I've been like all over the internet, I would say.
Yeah.
I haven't been like on one creative or one specific thing, but it's been a journey of trying to find and source new ideas. Mostly Vimeo. I've been just on Vimeo mostly. It's kind of the creative hub for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And a lot of creatives actually. I think more if you're a creative in this field, most of your time should also be there when you're trying to just try and learn new things.
Yeah. And some people will say there are a lot of editors who have access to the tools. They have Premiere, they have Final Cut, they have DaVinci, they have Avid.
Yep.
But that doesn't essentially still make you an editor.
True.
So what is the process of becoming an editor? What do you have? how are you looking at things? How do you edit? How do you cut? What defines a normal person who has these softwares in their hands and who still watches all these things to quote unquote an editor?
What makes an editor is the ability to know what you need to put in and what you don't need. Because what I believe you can, in some cases, you can put 5 shots.
Yeah.
And then an editor is not the guy who will put the 5 shots to tell the story. He's the guy who will come in and say, I don't really need this and this and this, and just use 2 shots and creates the same exact story that a normal guy would have done in 5. And I would say that's being an editor right there. Yeah.
And for you, what's the process when you're dropped into a project? How do you move from like, here's the material? Do you like being on set?
Actually, being on set is a plus, because you get a chance to maybe see everything as they do it, and it saves you the time for when you have to sit down and go through everything. So that's kind of faster time saver, and it's a plus because even if maybe if the director or the creative wants to maybe put a scene and they see like it's going to take some time and maybe they're questioning if they really need it or not, they can just ask you, do you think it's really necessary for us to do this, or can you tell this story with what you've shot? And it's easy for you to like just tell them we don't really need it, or go ahead and shoot it. It won't hurt to have it. And the other thing is maybe if you can't get a chance to go on set, they can share with you their material, everything. You get the director's notes themselves, not like what the continuity guy, the directors, because the director is mostly the one who is behind the camera, and if he's the kind of person to write down the notes and stuff, it helps a lot. Because you can just going through his notes and stuff, you can see exactly what he wants to tell.
And so you cross that line, you have the material, you've hopefully been on set, or you have the director's notes. How do you manage that process? People don't understand that you have hours of footage that you have to sort of, go through and think about every millisecond. It's about a millisecond can make a difference between a good edit and a horrible edit. So how do you manage that? What's the process when you have the material in your hands?
Sorting out the footage and everything. I just have this habit of, no matter how tight the deadline is, I just have to sort out everything. It consumes a bit of time doing it first, but once you've done it, once you've compiled everything, you've named everything, you've color tagged everything, it's always just downhill from there.
And when you're sitting down and you're cutting something, what are you thinking about? What's going through your mind? Why do you make the choices you make in an edit? Sometimes
it helps to. I always have. it's a crazy habit I have. I always have a tune in my head. Even if it's a music video or a film or anything I'm editing, I always have a tune in my head, which the tune is the rhythm of how I want the story to go. And it might be something as simple as tum tum tara 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 tara, and then I just edit to that. And that will be like the theme of the edit throughout the whole project. And that has always worked for me most times. You can find me in the edit sometimes just drumming around things and just
at this point, I think we should have brought a secret camera into your office. I just left it there.
It's always crazy there. If you see me in the edit, it's always crazy because if I do something and it's kind of makes me happy in a way. I can just replay that part again and again and again and just play that tune in my head until I get that energy goes a bit down so that I can continue with the rest of the edit. But having a tune in your head sometimes helps.
Yeah.
It keeps you sane because because of the long sitting hours.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think Steven Spielberg's long-term editor, I don't know, I can't remember the name at the top of my head. He said the only problem about editing is that you enter the editing suite, and the day you come out of it, you realize you're old. Time passes so much. I mean, how many hours do you spend in front of a screen creating dancing music? Yeah. Or the fun part for me is always, have you ever edited someone? You spend so many months, editing someone on a project, and then you finally meet them in real life. They don't know who you are.
They're like, "Oh, you're the editor."
For me, they don't even know you. It's probably randomly in a supermarket, but suddenly you look at them and you're like, I know so much about you. I know how you smile. I know how you frown. I know the color of your eye. Does that creep you out as much as it creeps me out?
Yeah, you know them so much because you've been, especially when you're editing something like a TV show.
Exactly.
You've seen them for months and months and months, but they really don't know who you are.
Exactly. Like, for me, that is the strangest thing.
Yeah.
And I guess
you're like a stalker.
Like you're
like
even watching them walk. You can almost you can almost even speak how they speak. Like almost walk how they walk.
Exactly.
And sometimes it gets me confused because I'm going like, "Oh, I know you," and then you remember, no, I don't actually know them.
I've just seen you.
I've just seen you so many times. Yeah. And do you think like the world of editing affects your real life? I thought it was interesting when you said that your first step is always sorting out things. Do you feel like that directly relates to your life? Do you end up, like, if you go to your house, everything needs to be in a box, everything needs to be planned out? Or are those two different things? There's editing and then there's you.
I've been always that guy who, when I leave, like my phone here, I just need to come and find it there. So I've always been an organized, quote unquote, organized freak.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Where I like things sorted out first before I start like working on them and moving them around.
Yeah.
I would say. Yeah. So editing and my real life is kind of intertwined in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you find, I've seen editors who are really, really messy with everything they do, and it kind of relates even to their own
lives.
They're messy in general. But I would say, I think editing and work generally relates to people's daily life.
She's so amazing. A coca figure will drive you crazy. She wind her waist, drop to girl behind for days. She's so amazing. A coca figure will drive you crazy. She wind her waist.
Looking into that, what was your process coming into that video? What are you thinking about? What was that like?
Well, it's it always starts out with maybe a sit down with the director.
Yeah.
And then you understand his creative side of it. And they can like tell you, I was thinking this scene and this scene can go together, this and this can go together. Yeah. And then it falls now back to you to see how you can piece them together and make them maybe make sense, I would say.
Was there anything interesting when you're editing this particular video? What was the tune? I almost want to ask, what was the tune in your head when you are looking at this footage? What was it?
For that, I think I took the bass line for the song. So I was like editing to the bass line of the song.
Yeah.
I was like, how does it go?
She's so amazing.
I kind of forget how it goes, but
yeah.
that was the tune playing in my head over and over and over and over again. Yeah.
I mean, and you can share it with us now and just take us through a bit of like your editing process. And thank you so much for allowing us to like jump in and see what that process looks like.
All right, so here we are. Obviously, as you know, every edit starts from this panel.
Yeah,
that's always. Mine's a little bit not so organized this time, but I always have a main sequence there, maybe.
Yeah.
And then from there, I have a sit down with the director and tell them, now this is the footage we have. This is how the song is divided. What are you thinking in terms of approach to this? And sometimes you can deviate from the notes just a bit, because in the notes it said like Arrow Boy walks up to her, but I kind of thought it made sense, because it made sense seeing the lady walking up to Arrow, because Arrow in this case, he's the star, so that's how we kind of played that.
I can see that.
We ended up just letting the lady start with the lady walking up to Arrow Boy. Arrow switches off the TV. It was we did a VFX for that, as you can see in the main video. She switches off and then goes to Arrow Boy, and then they start. So most of the process and stuff is always determined by the director's notes, but after that it's up to me, entirely up to me, and my choice of edit and choice of shots. And as you can see, it's a habit for me to have options for the director, because we always just don't have like one shot for one particular place. Most editors will just give you maybe 1 or 2, 3 lines of the video down there, like they'll just have like the V1, 2, 3 up to 4 just aligned. But I have this habit of having everything, even the options inside the animation. Like if you come here,
really? Like you actually you can close one channel and open and see,
and it's still the same thing. Like if it was his choice, if it was you see this shot, I could have started with this, right? But we thought this is maybe too much to start with, so we had to, where you can see a bit of Arrow. So if we had gone with this, if I had gone with this, it would have made now sense for me to make Arrow walk into set and sit with the lady. But I decided keep it this way, and it's only this. The reason I always put it this way is because to give the director choices, to also give him creative input inside the video, so that he can into the edit. Sorry, he can have a choice. Maybe he didn't want this shot; he wanted another shot. Sometimes I like something, but it's not always my final decision to have that thing inside, because the artist might not want it, the director might not, but you like it so much, so it's good to have choices for them. Because in this, how I always split it, you see I always have this empty layer just splitting everything up, and the reason why everything in this top layer is red is because those are cutaways for me. That's now where the story, quote unquote, for this video is.
Makes sense. And then the rest are performances.
So for example, here I could it would have been a choice for them. They could have gone with this shot, and it all still. And then I give them that and this, and when you she's so amazing, will drive you crazy. But out of choice, we thought this is we don't want to go back into this other scene, because we've already shown too much of it up to this point. And as you can, to keep a video interesting, maybe like a music video, you have many scenes, don't show them all at once.
Spread them out so there's an element of surprise coming.
Yes.
Okay, I think that's the best insight anyone would ever get into the process of editing, for sure.
Yeah.
As a last jump into it, what's your approach when it comes? Because I think you mentioned the podcast that you are also so much. You don't just handle the editing, but you also handle the color grades and stuff. So maybe you can just quickly brush through what's your process when it comes to color and choice of color and the effects of color on an edit, especially now that you're in the digital space where there's so many options of what you can do with color.
The first process is cleanup of the timeline.
Yeah.
Compressing everything and just putting everything in order.
Yeah.
Just removing all these unused takes, just keeping them aside.
Yeah.
And then I think color is pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Because it's just now creating the look.
And I guess, and here's the point where I'll say it is straightforward, quote unquote, but a lot of people don't get it right. Yeah. So my question for you would be, do you have a philosophy when it comes to color? Do you have a philosophy that you implement when it comes to the coloring process? Yeah.
Not exactly. But it's always advisable if maybe the client or the director has a look in mind or something.
Yeah,
they can forward that as a reference image, and then you can work with that as the color.
All right, amazing. I think that was quite the experience. Is there anywhere for your audience, anyone who wants to find you, who wants to ask questions, who wants to stalk you down, and have children named after you, where do they find you?
Well, online you can get me on Instagram, Rango__M.
Yeah.
Or for the people who want to give me jobs, you can
definitely. What email? What email do they find you at?
They can find me at rangom254@gmail.com.
Fantastic. Yeah. Thank you so much, Rango. Thank you so much for giving us your time, for taking us deep into the editing process.
You're welcome.
Think that was amazing, and I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Nice. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. It was awesome having this conversation with you.
Same here. Thank you for watching. Remember, you can catch more of my conversation with Rango in our podcast. Link in description. See you on the next one.